What's up, everybody? Scott Jansen here, and in today's video, I actually want to talk about client contracts for your coaching and your hypnotherapy business, and also talk about some of the terms and conditions that you can add to your contract to have a smoother transition, rather, to working with clients, giving them the results and giving them essentially what they paid for, and essentially blowing them away with your skills as a coach or a therapist. So if you're wondering, should you have some sort of client contract that clearly outlines the terms and conditions of your service? My answer is always yes. One of the biggest things I noticed as a therapist and the issues that started to arise with my clients was because I didn't have clear set boundaries. I didn't have clear set terms and conditions. And I was essentially had no real clear way to communicate to my clients what they're paying for. And thus, when I look at it now, it was really my fault and basically my problem for any clients that wanted refunds, because I really didn't outline what the expectations were, what my role was, what their role was. There was no splitting of responsibilities for their outcome and their transformation. So in this video, guys, let me break down the coaching client contracts. This can be used as a hypnotherapist, NLP, RTT, and I'll give you some pointers of the right direction. I also want to point out that at some point in your hypnotherapy and coaching business, it is always wise to go speak to a contract lawyer and have these laws based on your state and your country and your practice clearly put into a contract, so you're abiding by all the rules and regulations for being a therapist or a coach. So don't copy these verbatim. These are just a brief overview, rather, of just some of the terms and conditions that we use. This is not all of them, but these are the most common ones, and I think the most important ones. But again, you do want to check with a contract lawyer. That's my little terms and conditions for watching this video. So let's get into it. So let me find my laser pointer. There we go. Okay. So number one, hands down, what will make a great client relationship, guys, is your ability to spot red flags in your strategy calls. That's why we do strategy calls, guys. That's why we give all of our clients who want to book a strategy call with us, who potentially want to work with us, we run them through an extensive survey. One clear way to get rid of client issues, not only with the contract, but even before that, is to spot these red flags on a strategy call, to look at the surveys that your clients are filling out before they even jump on a strategy call with you, because this will show what the future is going to look like with this client. If you see red flags, if you see things or hear things that your clients say that really sort of grabs your attention in the wrong way, don't work with these people. You're not meant to work with every client. So one way I got around that issue with me was to really survey my clients, to look for these red flags, to find out, I wonder, okay, if I'm hearing this stuff now, I wonder what the future is going to be like with this client. If they're a pain in the backside now, and they're not willing to even fill out a survey, they're asking all the wrong questions, they're quite rude, they're quite abrupt, I don't want to work with this person because I know what the future is going to be like. So hands down, what will make a great client relationship is your ability to spot red flags in your strategy calls, okay? To use some sort of foresight in your business. I know that when I picked better clients, I had a smoother business to run with no complaints. And that was absolute freedom for me to know what my client's attitude was, what their personality was before I even accepted them as a client. Now, notice what I said there, before I accepted them. I would go through all the surveys. Everybody that wanted to work with me, especially when I raised my prices, had to do a survey, had to do a strategy call and a survey with me because I'm looking for these red flags. And did I say no to people? Absolutely. I said no to a ton of people because they weren't the right fit for me. Sure, I could have helped them, but I really didn't want to put up their attitude. Okay. Next, this is a big one. Coaches and therapists onboard a new client with an unclear intention. So their intention is like, I will help you quit smoking at some point, or I will help you find your passion, whatever that is. Or a big one that I see everyone talking about, I will help you step into your true self. What does this stuff mean? If the end result is unclear, it is not defined, and it doesn't have almost like a time limit to it, it's going to be very hard to know if your client has achieved what they have paid for. And it is appropriate for our clients to get what they paid for, because that's what they're hiring us for. That's what our service is about. So if you have a vague end result, like find your passion, I mean, how can you really quantify that? If you step into your true self, how can you quantify that? What does that mean? Is it an analogy for something else? How will a client know that they have actually got to this place? We need to have almost to an extent a tangible end result, because if you don't, you're going to have issues with clients saying, I paid for X, Y, and Z. I didn't get X, Y, and Z. And then you come back and say, yes, you did. Client says, well, I don't know I've got it. And you say, well, you just got to wait. It'll come eventually. You can't have these discussions with therapy and coaching. It has to be something tangible and, as best as it can be, something quantifiable. So you can actually look back on all your clients and know exactly when, what, and how they got to that end result. Next, coaches and therapists provide no clear agreement, verbal or intake. Now, what a lot of therapists and coaches don't understand, I didn't understand this for a long time as well, I had to split the responsibility. The entire responsibility of my client's transformation was definitely on me, but it was definitely on them as well. So it was a mutual relationship where I gave everything that I could to the transformation, but they had to follow the same. So coaches and therapists provide no clear agreement, verbal or like an intake of what to expect, when and how the therapy will commence. It's like, yeah, we'll just start next week sometime. What the relationship is between the client and the therapist, the boundaries, etc. Now, these could be the relationship and the boundaries, etc. for how a client can contact you. Can they contact you via text message, via email, on Facebook? Is there a certain time of the day they can contact you? Do you have extra support for these people? When can they book extra calls with you? When can they have a catch-up session? How can they best contact you? These are all the boundaries. You do not want to have clients messaging you at 1 o'clock in the morning because all of a sudden they're out drinking, they started smoking again. Okay, you've got to have that clear relationship and those boundaries have to be set. And it's as simple as just putting them in a contract, guys. Just put them in something like this, and I'll run through these highlighted areas here, but put it in your contract. Make sure your client understands them. But that's for you as well. For the therapist and the coach, I would always ask my client, how is it best for me to contact you? Would you like it via email? Would you like it by text message? Do you have a certain time of the day? Being that I was working with lawyers, I knew they had a very busy schedule, so I want to make sure that I wasn't imposing my schedule onto them. So it has to be a mutual relationship. Next, most coaches and therapists, this is a big one, refuse to talk about guarantees, refund policies, and terms in fears that it will scare off a client. Now, I'm not going to be the person, guys, to answer the question, should you give a refund? That is entirely up to you. That is entirely up to your type of service. It's entirely up to your practice, your laws, your regulations, your insurance. You have to do the research. I personally, now that I have a training company, I'm teaching therapists and coaches, as you know, to build their business online with an online course. We don't have a guarantee, okay? But we also don't have a refund. What we do offer instead is lifetime access to everything. A guarantee that you'll have lifetime access to me, our Facebook group, extra support. But we don't say after the 6 weeks, if you don't get clients, you don't get a refund. No, it's ongoing support, okay? So again, this is just the example that we use. We use what's called an action-based guarantee, okay? That if a student follows everything 100%, they show up to all the coaching calls, they are active in the group, they contact me for support, they do extra strategy calls with me, we will eventually get you to a place where you found your niche and you have a thriving business. Is it going to happen in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks? No, not for everybody. So it's ongoing support. And for students that actually will come back and say, well, Scott, I want a refund, it's action-based. Show me what you've done. Show me all the actions you take. Show me 100% that you followed every single step. You showed up to every coaching call. You've contacted me. You've been through all the strategy calls. And more than likely, no one's going to follow everything 100%. But we always make sure that I'm extremely upfront and tell people, I'll be there till we get this right. I will be there to support you until we get this right. That is our guarantee. That is our terms and conditions. And our students know this before they sign up to the program. And then I make it abundantly clear at the start of the program as well. Again, that's for an online program. It's going to be different for some sort of therapeutic type breakthrough or one-on-one. Do your research, guys. Okay, I'm not saying whether you use one or not. Do your research. Okay, you have to let your clients know up front what these things are. Then it's up to your client if they decide to continue. And this puts you in a really good place that if you've told them all of these things, they've agreed to them, and then they decide to work, it's because you've given the right terms and conditions, okay? And refund and T's and C's and things like this. Okay, so do your research. Okay, next is when you set expectations, clients will behave themselves. Look, I had pain in the ass clients too as a stop smoking therapist. I had ones that would violate the boundaries. I had people ask ridiculous questions that were quite rude and abrupt. I had clients acting in all the wrong ways. And before, I never set expectations. I was just happy to get paid because my business was struggling. But when I started to take my business seriously and I started to bring in a lot of income, cash, and revenue into my business, I had to let my clients know these are my expectations. And because I was working with lawyers, they were more than happy to work on those conditions, to have several conditions to work with them as well. So I think they really appreciated that I was coming from the same place as them. And once I put my foot down and told people this is how it is, you treat me like this, I'll treat you like this, all the behavioral issues went away, which was fantastic. They literally just disappeared. So if they don't, like clients violate your expectations and don't behave themselves, remind them of what you've already told them and the consequences of bad behavior. And if your client keeps violating these boundaries, they keep doing all the wrong things, they're negative, they're just being rude and abrupt with you, okay, get rid of them, okay? They don't get their money back. They have violated the contract because you've told them this, and you've given them a couple of reminders of how to act and how to behave. Like, I'm treating you with the respect. It has to be a two-way thing here. And if they keep violating these things, get rid of them, okay? Don't deal with these people because you're going to become an emotional wreck and you're not going to want to work with these people. You just want to, you will just want them to hurry up with their package to work with you so you can get them out of your life. Take a informative step here and just tell your clients, off you go. You've violated our contract, okay? Lastly, when you set clear expectations, the clients only want what is promised. So guys, don't sell a service if you can't give people results, okay? That's probably the most important part of this video. I have seen ridiculous things, and I know they're ridiculous because I pretty much know they're not possible, of therapists and coaches promising their clients things that I know for a matter of fact they can't get these sort of results because no other therapist in history or coach history has ever got these sorts of results. Do not try and build a business based off fake promises, okay? If you can't get these results and you don't have a proven track record to get these results or any sort of proof, you can't promise these things. The way that we look at it is we sort of under promise and highly over deliver. I'm going to use that crappy metaphor, okay? That way we can really blow our clients away with our service. We can really blow our clients away with the results. But if we set expectations too high and people don't get to that stage, it's going to seem there's a deficit of conflict there, okay? So you have to set clear expectations. Clients only want what they paid for, and they've got every right to have this, just like you would if you bought something or had a service of some sort. If the end result is vague, remember I talked about this, if there's vagueness to the end result, it's not quantifiable, it's not tangible. And when I say tangible, it doesn't have to be like a feeling thing. It can be an emotional tangibility as well. If it's vague, it's going to be very, very hard to convince that client or have that client convince themselves that they got what they paid for. So if the end result is vague, they will have no way to gauge if they got what they paid for, and we can expect them to want a refund, and they have every right to ask for that refund. Promise what you know you can deliver, then over deliver it better than your competition. Okay, so these are some of the terms and conditions that you definitely want to add to your contract. Over here on the right hand side, let me just give you an example. Let me just sort of recap everything and a couple more examples. The contract should be short, concise, and clear. It's not a novel. Okay, if it can be on one page, put it on one page. Clearly define the service. What is your service? What are you offering? What can you deliver? But also, what can't you deliver? I think it's always important, and I will always let my clients and my therapy clients know this as well, is these are the things that I can expect to happen. This is what I can deliver, but I can't deliver this. I'm not this. I cannot figure this part out. I don't know this part. I'm not going to be able to do this for you, but as long as you're okay with what I can give you, that's exactly what I promised to give you to an extent. You see where I'm going there, okay? So clearly define the service. Define the cost, the payment plan structure, the payment, the service, how it's all going to work. All the boring details, have it in your contract, okay? If you have refund policies, clearly define them. Tell your clients what they are. Make sure they agree to them, plus all the terms and services, okay? So the terms and conditions should be like what your responsibility is, but what their responsibility is as well. It's a mutual gathering, especially when it comes to something therapeutic and coaching in nature. It has to be a two-way street. Both people have to be applying the right sort of strategy. Next is your safety, privacy for your clients. Okay, that's a given. Okay, big one, as I mentioned before, yours and your client's responsibilities. Clearly state these things. Just this alone, having yours and your client's responsibility and a very tangible outcome will clear up most client issues. Lastly, rules and boundaries. Okay, I'm not going to get into what those rules are. Okay, you've probably been told all of these things during your certifications as a coach, therapist, really doesn't matter. Set these rules and boundaries. But the biggest takeaway from this, guys, is to use client contracts. Clearly define what you do. Clearly define what you want from your client. Make sure you talk about T's and C's, refund policies, terms and conditions. Don't worry about scaring clients off. If it scares them off, that's a good look into the future, what it would have been like to work with this person. And lastly, don't ever feel bad for saying no to clients. If they don't fit your T's and C's, your client contracts, don't work with these people. Don't ever feel bad for saying no to a client. If you start to see red flags straight away with some foresight in your business on the strategy call, on the survey, kindly tell this person to go find somebody else, or do them a favor and help them find somebody. We did this on a couple of occasions as well. It was accepted very, very well. But don't feel bad for ever saying no to a client, because not every client's going to be perfect for you. And no business expects that either. Okay? So guys, hopefully that was informative. If you have any questions about the client contracts, terms and conditions, anything we talked about today, make sure you comment below. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Also, if you know any other therapists and coaches that could use this information, make sure you send them our video. It's much appreciated to get this information out to as many therapists and coaches as possible and help you and them also transform their entire business, their service, their income, and be highly successful. So guys, I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.